Let's say you have a bag, and in that bag you have 3 white balls and 6 black balls. What's the probability if you picked one of those balls at random? So you've closed your eyes and you rummaged around and you picked out one of those balls completely at random. What's the probability you'd pick a white ball? Well, you have 3 chances out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Probability white is going to be 1, 2, 3 chances out of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3 out of 9, which you can reduce to its lowest terms. We can divide the top and bottom by 3 to get 1/3. Probability is the chance of something happening. Probability exists between 0 and 1. 0 is impossible. There's no way it can happen. And 1 is certain. That means it will happen. Let's say in a class you have 6 girls and 9 boys. What's the probability if you chose one of those children at random, you would choose a girl? Well, the probability of choosing a girl would be 6 out of, well, how many children are there altogether? 6 out of 15. That's a fraction. But we must reduce it to its lowest terms. We can divide the top and the bottom by 3. 3 into 6 goes twice. 3 into 15 goes 5 times. So probability exists between 0 and 1. Let's say you tossed a coin. The chance of that landing heads would be a half. There are 2 possible ways it could land. They're equally likely, heads or tails. You've got 1 chance out of 2 of it being a head. Let's say you throw 2 coins together. You could get a head and a head and a tail and a head, or a tail and a tail. Those are all the possible ways of throwing those 2 coins together. There are 4 possible outcomes. What's the probability of throwing 2 heads? Probability of throwing 2 heads is 1 chance out of 4. So that's 1/4. What's the probability the 2 coins would be different? So that could be a head and a tail or a tail and a head. The probability that they are different is going to be 2 chances out of 4. That's a half. Let's say you shuffle a pack of cards. So all the cards are a completely random order. What's the probability if you pick 1 card at random, you would pick the Ace of Hearts? Well, there are 52 cards in a pack, and there's only 1 Ace of Hearts. So the probability of picking the Ace of Hearts would be 1 out of 52. So if you kept picking cards at random, 1 at a time, and put them back, maybe after 52 times you might get the Ace of Hearts. You might get it the first time. You might get it after 100 times. It's all random. But the chance of getting it in one go would be 1 out of 52. What's the probability of picking a club? Well, there are 13 of each suit in a pack. 13 out of 52. That reduces down to 1/4, as you might expect, because there are 4 suits. Each have 13 cards. 13 times 4 gives you 52. What's the chance of picking a red queen? So that could be the Queen of Hearts or the Queen of Diamonds. There are 2 red queens. 2 chances out of 52. That reduces down to 1/26. Now, you roll a fair die. The die is like a cube which has 6 faces. What's the probability you roll a 5? Well, there's only 1 chance of rolling a 5. The probability of rolling a 5 is going to be 1 out of 6. 1/6. What's the probability you will roll a prime number? Well, how many prime numbers do we have on a die? 2, 3, 5. There are 3 prime numbers. So it's 3 out of 6, which is a half. What if you roll that die 10 times, and every time you roll that fair die, it comes up with a 6? You get a 6, that's pretty lucky, and then a 6, and then another 6. What's the probability when you roll it for the 11th time, it'll also come up with a 6? Have a think. From the numbers 1 to 20 inclusive, what's the probability you would choose a square number? The numbers 1 to 20, so we have 1, 2, all the way up to 18, 19, and 20. So we have 20 numbers. What's the probability of choosing a square number? Well, you have 1, 4, 9, or 16. You have 4 chances. 4 out of 20 would be 1/5. Now, going back to that die, you rolled it 10 times in a row, and each time you got a 6. That's very, very unlikely. What's the chance you get a 6 on the next throw? Well, if it's coming up 6 every time, do you expect it to be a 6 the next time? You might start to suspect that the die is loaded. It's not a fair die, but I said a fair die. The chance of getting a 6 is 1/6. It's 1/6 for the first throw, it's 1/6 for the next throw. It doesn't matter how many times you do it. It doesn't matter what happened before. The chance of getting a 6 is still 1 chance in 6. Years ago, my father was asked to open a fete, and there was a special prize of a speedboat, and all you had to do was pay 50p and roll some dice. You had to roll 7 dice, and to win the speedboat, you had to roll 7 sixes. So he opened the fete, he made a speech, and it was his privilege to pay 50p and roll the 7 dice for the first time. He rolled 5 sixes. What's the chance of that happening? Well, the chance of rolling the first would be 1/6. The chance of rolling the second would be 1/6. Now, a 1/6 of a 1/6 is 1/36. That's 1 chance out of 36. The next one would be another 1/6 of a chance. That's a 1/6 of a 1/6 of a 1/6. Now that's already 1 chance in 216. But he rolled 5 sixes. That would be 1/6 to the power of 5. That's equal to 1 chance in 7,776. But he wasn't lucky enough. He had to be 36 times more lucky. He would have had to have thrown another 6 and another 6. So he didn't win the speedboat. The chance of winning that speedboat would be 1/6 to the power of 7. That would be 1 chance in 279,936. So they would make a lot of money and they'd be pretty safe keeping their speedboat. Now, download the worksheet and give them a go.